So the January 10th fantasy basketball and NBA recap. So we'll start with the box scores here. And the Denver Nuggets beat the New York Knicks 114-89. The Nuggets improved to 5-5, and the Knicks now, after getting off to a good start, lose 2 in a row and fall to 5-5 here. And we'll go to the Nuggets box score. Nikola Jokic, another great game for him. He was a first round stud for a reason, and Jokic in this one, 22 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, 9 for 15 from the field, 1 for 3 from 3. And Jokic each and every game, this are the numbers you're going to get from him. He possibly might be the best big man in fantasy basketball this season when it's all said and done, and that wouldn't surprise me. So the Joker here, he just keep putting up numbers. Paul Millsap, another mediocre game for him. 10 points, 5 rebounds, 3 of 9 from the field, 2 for 6 from 3. And Millsap, he's not doing much right now for fantasy owners or this Nugget team. So Millsap, he's a player I recommend to drop this week because I don't think his stats are going to be great. His minutes have been low so far this season. And right now, Millsap, I would probably drop him unless you're in deepest of leagues. Gary Harris, on the other hand, he's a player I recommended to pick up this week. 31 minutes of play, 14 points, 3 rebounds, 6 of 10 from the field for Harris, and 2 for 4 from 3. So Harris, he's starting to get things going. He's adding a different couple categories to his stat lines to help fantasy owners in this Nugget team. So Harris, he's out there in about 85% of fantasy leagues. And this week I recommended to adding him as a guard because he's starting to get healthy as well, I think. Jamal Murray, another down game here for him in this one, but this game was a blowout, so maybe he just couldn't get in rhythm. But 9 points, 3 assists, 4 and 9 from the field with a 3 added. So Murray, in the bubble, he was playing lights out, but so far in the regular season, the numbers just haven't been there besides 2 or 3 games for Murray. So we'll see if he could get things going, or maybe those huge games were because of the bubble. It's an easier place to play and shoot, supposedly, according to players. Will Barton, 21 minutes of play, 5 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists. And Barton, he just hasn't done much, really, for fantasy owner of the Nuggets over the last 2 or 3 weeks. And if he's on your fantasy roster, he's a guy on the bubble as well who could be droppable. JaMychal Green, on the other hand, also 22 minutes, 10 points, 8 rebounds, an assist, and 2 threes. And I recommend the Green as a pickup. He's getting rebounds. He's hitting 2 threes a game about, and he's scoring double digits points. So he's a player that's definitely valuable for most fantasy leagues, and especially as a big man, giving you low stats. Monty Morris, 22 minutes, 12 points, 3 boards, 3 assists. He's on the fringe of being owned or not, is Monty Morris, and he had a decent game here with the 22 minutes of play, but we got to see more out of Morris for him to be owned in most fantasy leagues. And the other guys, Campazzo, Harstein, Boy, Hampton, they just have no value at this time. Now to the Knicks side of things, Mitchell Robinson, 34 minutes of play, 11 points, 5 rebounds. So Robinson, he's been decent this year, but he's not having those huge rebound or block games yet for fantasy owners where they drafted him in the 4th or 5th round of most fantasy drafts. So right now, Robinson, hopefully he gets better. RJ Barrett, another off game from the field, 4 of 13, but he added 9 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, which is decent. But Barrett, the problem with him is his field goal percentage, and he don't hit threes really. So Barrett, he's got to work on that part of his game. Hopefully he gets things going here for this Knick team and for fantasy owners. But right now, Barrett, his value ain't all that great. Alfred Payton, another mediocre game for him. 12 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 of 10 from the field, 4 of 5 from the line. So Payton, he's going to have his ups and downs, but he's playing major minutes and starting here for the Knick team. So he should be owned in most fantasy leagues as Peyton. Reggie Bullock, he shouldn't be owned. Another start here, and now he's hurt with a knee injury in this one. 7 points, 3 rebounds, and an assist. And right now, Bullock, he shouldn't be owned. He's only owned in about 5% of fantasy leagues, and now with the injury, he really has no value. Julius Randle, another huge game for him. 29 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, 11 of 16 from the field, and he added 2 threes. So Randle, he's the point forward here for this Knick team. He's putting up huge numbers, and he's a top 10, 15 player right now in most fantasy leagues. And with his usage, this guy's going to be a star for your fantasy team. And he was a steal as of now in the 6th or 7th round where he was going. Austin Rivers, He's a recommended pickup this week, and he just had an off game in this one. But I expect Rivers to bounce back tonight and play more minutes with Bullock out. He had 6 points, 1 assist, only 6 shot attempts. And this game all around for the Knicks was a total joke. So it's a game you just throw away, especially in fantasy circles. Kevin Knox, he don't have fantasy value really. 17 minutes, 6 points, a rebound, 2 of 6 from the field, 1 for 3 from 3. Knox, he should be on the Warriors. And Emmanuel quickly, he didn't play enough minutes again in this one. 13 minutes, 4 points, a rebound, and an assist. Noel, no value. Dennis Smith, he returned, but he played in garbage time when it was a blowout. And Smith, I don't know what happened to Smith, man. He was a monster his rookie year with Dallas, but ever since then, he just hasn't got anything going, and he's been a bust. Now to the next game of the night, the Utah Jazz and the Detroit Pistons. And the Jazz here with a good victory, 96-86 in a low-scoring ball game, according to standards nowadays in the NBA. And the Pistons, the horrible start continues here. 2-8 they fall on the season in this loss. And right now we'll go to the Jazz side of things. Rudy Gobert, this guy's a rebounding and defensive machine. And in this one, 9 points, 19 rebounds and assists. And Gobert, that's what you're going to get from big rebound games. 10, 11 points, even though in this one he only had 4 and a block and a half to 2 a game. So Gobert, he's going to be fine. He's a fantasy stud, and he gives you a lot of intangibles at the center position. Bogdanovic, another mediocre game for him. 7 points, 6 boards, and an assist. 3-11 from the field. So Bogan, he's just not hitting threes so far this season, and he's struggling shooting. And for the most part, most of these Jazz players are. But he'll be fine. He's a player I would hold on to, and hopefully he gets it going. Donovan Mitchell, it's good to see him have a good field goal percentage and score 28 points in this one. 9 of 18 from the field, 2 rebounds, 3 assists in this one for Mitchell. So Mitchell, he was a stud. You drafted him second, third round of your leagues, and hopefully he gets it going now with his field goal percentage and points per game. And it was good to see him hit 4 threes. Royce O'Neil, he was a recommended add this week heading into week 4, and he didn't have no points, but still O'Neil, he added other stats to his stat line. 8 rebounds, 4 assists. He had a few steals in this one as well. And O'Neal, he only had 2 shot attempts. So it was one of those nights for him. But Royce O'Neil, he's been starting every game here for Utah. And he's definitely a recommended add and play this season in fantasy basketball. Mike Conley, a good game here. 22 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 8 of 13 from the field, and 2 of 4 from 3. So Conley, he's been a pretty decent fantasy player this year. And the only question with him is health. I said to sell him high last week because he's going to have up and downs. And if you could get decent trade for him, I still would at this point. But right now, Conley with a good game. Jordan Clarkson, he was a recommended 25 minutes of play, 18 points, 4 rebounds. So Jordan Clarkson, he's been a good player this season for fantasy owners. He's a player I said to recommend and add again this week. Heading into week 4, you're going to get 3-point shooting from him. You're going to get scoring, a few rebounds. And in this game, 3 of 7 from the field, 7 of 15 at the field goal. So it's a good game for him. Joe Ingles, another guy, he's up and down. And he's a guy that could be droppable in shallower leagues. And in this one, only 9 points, 5 boards, 2 assists, 2 of 5 from 3. So Ingles, he's the 6th or 7th man off the bench here for this Utah team. But his numbers haven't been up to par like they've been in recent years. So right now, if you want to get rid of him, you could do that. But if you don't have better options on the waiver wire, just hold on to Ingles for now. Derrick Favors, he had a good one in this one. 6 points, 14 boards. But right now, he's not a recommended add here in fantasy circles is Derrick Favors. So I would wait and see on him for Favors. Zhang in this one, he don't have value. Now to the Pistons side of things, Mason Plumlee, the numbers have really plummeted down for him the last few games. And in this one, 6 points, 8 boards, 3 assists, 3 of 5 from the field. So Plumlee, I recommended him to sell him high now the last few weeks, and I probably will once again this week, even though his value's totally taken a hit. And in this game, he just hasn't done much as Plumlee, but he's still a guy that should be owned in most leagues. But I'm not expecting big stat lines. Jeremiah Grant, he continues to be the main man over here for Detroit with another huge game. 28 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 9 of 19 from the field, and he added 3 threes. So Grant, in the offseason, he got this big contract here from Detroit, and he's contributing. He's helping fantasy owners who got him late in drafts, and he's really putting up numbers. And I think it could continue to an extent. I don't think he's going to have 25 to 28 a game, but maybe 15, 20 points a game and add some assists and rebounds also. Josh Jackson, another bad game for him, 14 minutes of play, 2 points, 2 rebounds. So Jackson, he was a good ad the first few weeks of the season, but another guy here that's coming back down to his normal play is Jackson. So right now I would drop him in most leagues. He's just not producing. Blake Griffin, another poor game as far as scoring the basketball, only 10 points, 6 rebounds, which is decent, 5 assists, which is real good. But now Griffin, all of a sudden, he's turning into a three-point shooter. Another 7 attempts in this one, but he only hit one. 4 or 12 from the field, which is under 40%, which isn't great. So hopefully Griffin, he could build his stamina up and get better, because so far this season, he's been injured. He's had the concussion and also the knee tightness. So Griffin right now, he's not doing much for fantasy owners, but you can't drop him. So hopefully he improves. DeLon Wright, he got the start, but no impact really for the Pistons or fantasy owners in this one. 6 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 and 9 from the field here for DeLon Wright. So he's a guy, I wouldn't own him in leagues unless it's the deepest of leagues. Bay in this one, 27 minutes of play, 12 points, 3 boards, and an assist here for Bay. Bay right now, he's a guy you can look at, but that's more deeper leagues. 2 or 6 from the field, and the rest of the guys, Stewart, Ellington, Jackson, Okafor, Duba Boy, and no fantasy value. And Derrick Rose, he missed this game with left knee soreness, so hopefully he's day-to-day, and he comes back in the next Piston ball game. Clippers and the Chicago Bulls here, and what a ball game this was. The Clippers hold on and win it 130 to 127, and Kawhi Leonard, he reached 10,000 career points, and what an achievement here for him. And Leonard with 35 in this one, but we'll start off with the Bulls side of things. And we'll start off with Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine now, the last week, he's really getting it going and exploding for huge numbers. And in this one, 45 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, 15 from 26 from the field, which is still a good field goal percentage of 100% from the line, and 10 of 16 from 3. So LaVine, he was feeling it. 10 3-pointers in this one, which he was unconscious. So Zach LaVine, this guy, he could score from anywhere on the court, and he's a total stud. And even on a bad Bull team, he's leading them to victories with his great play and big scoring ball games. So Zach LaVine, you're getting huge numbers out of him, and he went in most leagues second or third round. And this is going to continue the rest of the season for him, big games like this. Patrick Williams, a good game here for the rookie. 17 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists for Williams. 3 of 5 from the three-point line and 6 of 9. So Williams, he's getting every opportunity. Lauri Markkanen, he's still out for this Bull team, but I don't even think it matters. Williams, he's still going to play a major role on this roster, and they drafted him early in the first round in the NBA draft for a reason. So it was good to see Williams have a game. He should be owned in most 12-team leagues and bigger leagues, because he's going to start. He's going to play, like I said, and he's producing. Kobe White, it wasn't a great scoring game for him, but it was great to see him have 13 assists in this one. So White, he's adding a little bit more of his game, it seems like, each and every game. And in this one, 9 points, 8 rebounds, 13 assists. So White, he was closing in on a triple-double in this one, but he missed it by a couple stats here. So a good game for White. White was a sleeper to me coming into the season, and now he's really paying off for the Chicago Bulls and fantasy owners. This guy, he definitely could play. Wendell Carter, another mediocre game. 12 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 4 or 8 from the field. So these type of games and numbers are what you expect here from Wendell Carter. He's going to give you about double-digit points a game and 5 to 7 rebounds a game. And he's a decent center to have in most leagues. 8 and 10-team leagues, maybe get rid of him, but the rest of the way you should keep him. And Gary Temple with the spot start here with Otto Porter Jr. out with a lower back strain. So we'll see how long he's going to be out. But Temple, he filled in well here. 18 points, 6 rebounds, and an assist. 3 or 4 from 3 for Temple. So Temple, he's a good ball player. He's a veteran, but he still don't have fantasy value in my eyes unless Otto Porter is going to miss a huge amount of time. Thaddeus Young, he had a pretty decent game here. 25 minutes of play, 14 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 6 for 7 from the field. Young at this point, he still don't have fantasy value, but he's a player to keep an eye on, especially if Ford is out. Him and Temple, they're going to get more minutes over there in Chicago. Denzel Valentine, he had a pretty good game, 20 minutes of play, 10 points, 4 boards, 3 assists, but he has no value at this time, and that's it for the Bulls side of things. Now to the Clippers here, Serge Ibaka, another pretty decent game, 10 points, 5 rebounds, and an assist, and Serge Ibaka, he's the third or fourth option here in this offense, is Ibaka. So right now, he's a player, he's still going to put up stats. He's the starting center here. And Zubac, he's not really a guy who's going to take minutes away from Ibaka. So you're going to deal with the big games and the mediocre games like this one for Ibaka. But he should be owned in most formats as well. Paul George, the great season continues here. 28 points, 7 rebounds, 9 assists. So he was close to a triple-double here was George. Just in this one, his field goal percentage wasn't good. 8 for 19 from the field, but PG-13, he's way better this season than he was last. Last season, he had coming off of 2 shoulder surgeries, but this year he's healthy, he's hungry, and he's playing well for this Clipper team. So PG, if you got him as a little bit of a steal in your drafts, it's paying off big time for you right now. Pat Beverly, he don't have fantasy value. I've been saying this each and every time in these Clipper games I go over. 25 minutes, 7 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 of 6 for 3. So Pat Beverly, he's a better real-life player than fantasy. He just doesn't do much of anything to help fantasy owners. Kawhi Leonard, what a season it's been for him. And right now, Leonard, he's been playing back-to-backs. He's not on load management, it seems. And he had a huge ball game in this one. 35 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists, and a great 14 of 22 shooting and 7 of 9 from 3. So Leonard, his three-point shooting's getting better this year. He's contributing for fantasy owners more than I expected. I thought Leonard would still be on the whole load management thing and not play any back-to-backs. But so far this season, he's been a stud where you drafted him in the second or third round. And he's playing pretty much every game. So Tyronn Lue, he's holding these guys accountable this season, unlike Doc Rivers did. Nicolas Petum, I recommended to add him this week, and he had a good game in this one. 8 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 for 3 from the line, and he had 4 steals. Batum, he's not going to be the biggest of scorers, but he's going to add threes. He's going to get some rebounds and assists, and he's a big steal guy. And right now, I know Marcus Morris returned, but Batum, he's still going to have a role, and he's a guy you should still add on your fantasy team. He's available in 50% of leagues. Marcus Morris, his minutes are going up since he's returned now from injury. 25 minutes, 11 points, 7 rebounds, 3 of 5 from 3. So Marcus Morris, he's a player I would look at, keep an eye on. But right now, I got to see a few more performances and consistent playing time for me to add him in fantasy leagues. You know, Morris, he's a good scorer and rebound, and that's what he would do for fantasy teams. Lou Williams, he finally broke out in this one. 23 minutes of play, 21 points, an assist. A rebound and 4 assists, 6 of 10 from the field, and he added 1 3. So Lou Williams, I'm close to dropping him, and I'm probably going to recommend him this week as a drop. But right now, if you want to hold on to him, I understand. But this was only his second or third game of the year where it was a good one for him. Out of the 9 or 10 that the Clippers played, Luke Kennard, no value, 18 minutes, 5 points, a board and assist. There needs to be a major amount of injuries for Kennard to have value. Zubac, he did good in 15 minutes of play. 5.7 rebounds and an assist. The only way Zubac will really have value, though, if Ibaka or some other big man goes down here for the Clippers. But right now, at this time, he has no value. Now on to the Thunder and the Nets. And in this one, a shocking victory here for the Thunder. 129-116. And Kevin Durant, he did return in this one here versus former team with the Nets. But Kyrie Irving, just the stuff continues with Irving. Personal reasons, he don't want to play or whatever the deal was. And Irving, I mentioned this the last few weeks and before the drafts of your fantasy leagues that Irvin's a guy I want to avoid. And right now, it looks like I'm correct. He's just not playing. He takes games off when he wants. And we know he hasn't played a full season in 4 or 5 years. But onto the box score. And here for the Thunder, Al Horford, I recommended last week in week 3 to buy him low. And Horford, he had a huge ball game here. 22.6 rebounds, 3 assists. And he even added 3 threes. So Horford, he's going to play a major role here for this Thunder team. They can't play all young guys. So George Hill and Horford are the veterans for this team. And so far the Thunder, they're playing well this year for a team we thought that totally wouldn't do anything. 5-5 in the first 10 games. So Horford, if our owner still wants to trade him, I would go out there and get him. And you're not going to pay the premium. And you're going to have good games and you're going to have bad games with him. But I think he's worth an ad. Beasley in this one, it was a bad one for him. 5 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 of 6 from the field, 1 of 4 from 3 for Beasley. So Beasley is going to be growing pains. He's a youngster here, but he should be owned in most fantasy leagues. He's starting and getting major minutes. George Hill, he had a pretty decent game. 14 points, 3 assists, 2 of 6 from 3. So Hill, you know what you're going to get from the vet. He's going to be inconsistent. He's going to hit threes. He's going to assist the ball. But there's some nights where he's not going to do much, but he should be owned in most 12 and 14 team leagues. Gilgeous-Alexander, this was one of his better games of the season. He had 31 points, 6 rebounds, 7 dimes in this one, 2 for 4 from 3. So Alexander, we know he was a stud. He was a player taken in the second or third round of fantasy leagues. And right now, he's going to be the main man here for this Thunder team. They're building the team around him. And he paid off huge in this one. Lucas Dortz, another decent game. 13 points, 3 rebounds, 2 or 3 from 3. And these guys with the Thunder, they're going to play 25, 30 minutes a game. They're starting. So they should be owned in, like I keep saying, 12 to 14 team leagues. Diallo, he was a recommended pickup this week at guard. So if you haven't seen that video, go check it out. It just got uploaded. But anyway, 25 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, 10 of 14 from the field. Diallo, he's an athletic wingman. This guy, he could score the basketball. He's a matchup problem for most guards with his size and his ability and athleticism. And now he should be owned in most fantasy leagues. And he's a guy I recommended. Diallo now with back-to-back 20-plus point games. And he's going to be a 6-man off the bench here. And he's going to play. He's a young guy for this OKC team. And he's starting to break out. Roby, a decent game. 13 points, 5 boards. But he's not consistent enough to be owned in fantasy leagues. And now to the net side of things. Jared Allen, another start, another double-double. 15 points, 10 rebounds. And it was good of the Nets here to go to Allen to start for their ball club. Allen, he's a good player. The time is now for him to play. And he produces more at this point in his career than DeAndre Jordan. Karis LeVert with Kyrie Irving. Who knows how long this guy's going to be out. LeVert, another big game here. 21 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists. He started at point guard. And LeVert, he's a player I've been saying for weeks to go out there and buy. Because Kyrie Irving, I knew the other shoe would drop. And where Irvin's going to start rattling off a ton of games in a row where he's going to miss. So LeVert, he's going to have great value. He's going to be the 6-man or starter point guard when Irvin's out like he did in this game. And he's got tons of value. And he's a player, once again, I'm going to recommend to buy this week when those videos come out. Joe Harris, he started in this one and he didn't come off the bench. 10 points, 5 boards, 3 assists, 2 of 6 from 3. Joe Harris, this is what you're going to get from him. Joe Harris, he's a player. He's going to have huge games shooting the basketball from the field. And then he's going to have games like this where it's a mediocre stat line. He's a streak shooter. And this is how shooters perform. Great games where they go off for 30 points and games where they score 10 or 12 points with a bad field goal percentage. But Joe Harris, I'm not worried about him. He should be owned in just about every fantasy league. Jeff Green, he got the start, but he's got no fantasy value. 24 minutes of work, 4 points, 4 boards, 2 of 8 from the field. Kevin Durant, what a return from him after the protocol where he couldn't play. But 36 points, 11 boards, 4 assists, 11 of 21 from the field. A nice 12 of 15 from the line and 2 of 7 for 3. So if Irvin's going to continue to miss games, Kevin Durant's usage and the ball being in his hands is just going to go up from here. And he's going to have huge games where he's going to score 30, 35 points when Irvin's out. Taurean Prince, he's carved out a decent role of late here for the Nets. 23 minutes of play, 11 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 5 of 7 from the field, and he added a 3. So Prince in the deepest of leagues, he should be owned. But right now, he's going to play 20, 25 minutes of play, especially if Irving's going to be out. They're going to need another scorer off the bench with LeVert inserted into the starting lineup. TLC, he had 12 points, a rebound, 4 assists, but I still don't buy it for him on the radar. 3 for 5 from 3. Shamit, same thing with him. He's not playing enough. And DeAndre Jordan, I recommended to drop him here. Only 10 minutes of play, 4 points in a rebound. So right now, Jared Allen is the big man you want on your fantasy team in Brooklyn. And Jordan, he's a guy to drop. Lakers and the Houston Rockets here. The Lakers win at 120-102 in a blowout victory. The Lakers improved to 8-3 on the season. And the Houston Rockets, the struggles continue here so far in the early going. They fall to 3-5 in this one. Now to the Lakers box score in this ball game. And the Lakers here, Marc Gasol, he had a decent fantasy day. 24 minutes, 6.7 boards, 2 assists, and he added a 3. But Marc Gasol, he don't really have fantasy value. He's a guy I said to drop earlier in the season in week 1 and 2, and right there, Gasol, he didn't have a great game, like I said. He didn't get things going here for this Laker team. And right now, he shouldn't be owned unless you're in the deepest of leagues, is Marc Gasol. But he did play 24 minutes. He's the main center here on this Laker roster, but he has no value at this time. Dennis Schroeder, another mediocre game here. 34 minutes of play, 8 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 of 10 from the field. 1 for 3 from 3. So Dennis Schroeder, he's got the ball in his hands a lot. The 7 assists were good. The 5 rebounds is good. Just his points per game the last few weeks has dropped off here for Dennis Schroeder. So hopefully he could pick things back up and get it going once again for this Laker team. But there's going to be times where Schroeder's going to have huge games and then times where he has bad games like here in this one. But Schroeder will be fine. This Laker team, they're going to be the best team in the Western Conference, most likely. And Schroeder's going to be a big part of it. Caldwell Pope, he returned in this one. 22 minutes of play, 7 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 of 9 from the field. And he added a 3. So Caldwell Pope back in the starting lineup. Kuzma relegated to the bench. And Pope, he don't really have fantasy value anyway, I would think. Here, Pope, he's had a good season last year in the bubble, but now during this season so far with the injuries and the mediocre to poor play most nights, Caldwell Pope, he's just not getting the job done right now, and he shouldn't really be owned in fantasy leagues. LeBron James, a little bit of a quiet night according to his standards. 18 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists in 30 minutes of play, and LeBron, he took a shot to the face in this one that caused DeMarcus Cousins to get ejected early in this game. And LeBron, some nights he's just going to have, that lackadaisical LeBron stat line where the scoring's not that high, but the rebounds and the assists are still pretty decent. And in this one, he went 1 for 6 from 3 and 7 of 15 from the field. But this game was over early where the Lakers, they were just toying around more than anything. Anthony Davis, a huge game scoring-wise here, 27 points, but only 4 rebounds, 9 and 12 from the field. Anthony Davis, it seems like he just rolls out of bed and he could have a 20-point game. And some nights, it seems like he's not bringing it all like he did in the playoffs. Obviously, the intensity's not as high, but AD, he's been a stud for years now in fantasy. But so far this season, his numbers are just a little bit off in a few categories, but I think he'll be fine. He still scored big points here in only 29 minutes of play. Like I said, this game was over early. Kyle Kuzma, 13 points, 2 boards in 23 minutes. Back to the bench role for him, and he added 3 threes, but he's a guy I'm recommending to drop this week's Kuzma, especially with Caldwell Pope back. And Kuzma, he's just been inconsistent this season. Montrezl Harrell, 16 points, 8 boards, 7-11 from the field, so a nice bounce-back performance for the former 6th Man of the Year, Harrell. And same with him. He's going to have big nights and then mediocre nights, and in this one, he had a nice 16-8 type game. And this season, he's been good, Harrell. There's some games where his scoring's down, but his rebounds are up. But in this one, it was a perfect blend of scoring and rebounding here for him, and he should be owned in pretty much every league. Alex Caruso, he got major minutes for him here tonight. but he didn't do anything. Horton Tucker, he's the only guy really off the bench besides Harrell that stands out in this one. 20 minutes of play, a nice 17 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 7 of 8 from the field, and 2 for 3 from 3. So Horton Tucker, we've heard the reports that this Laker team's high on him in practice, and last season in the playoffs he even played some spot minutes for them. But right here, you got to see more consistency and playing time from Tucker before he could be a fantasy option. And right now, in my opinion, he's not just an option, but he's a guy to keep an eye on and see how many minutes he plays. Now to the Houston side of things, Christian Wood, another big scoring game here for him. 23 points, 3 rebounds, and an assist. 10 of 20 from the field, and 1 for 5 from 3. So Christian Wood, he's really getting the job done this season. And Wood, I thought he wouldn't be that good as he was last season, but I was wrong. Wood, he's putting up big fantasy numbers, and so far living up to the contract here for the Houston Rockets. So Wood, he's a player that should be owned in every league. He's got a big usage rate, and right now he's having a better fantasy season than James Harden, arguably, for this Houston Rocket team. So Wood, he's doing good. And Wabba got the start, 17 minutes of play, 6 points, a rebound, and an assist. He's got no fantasy value. He was just pretty much a body out there starting, and Daniel House was out with the back spasms. Where House, he don't have value anyway unless you're in a deeper league. James Harden, decent game for him. 20 points, 6 rebounds, 9 assists. He only took 14 shots in this game, 4 for 5 from the line, and 2 of 8 from 3. So James Harden, he went first, second pick in most fantasy drafts, but so far this season, Harden, he might not be into it each and every night. And now rumors are coming out that the Rockets are confident Harden's going to stay the rest of the season there, and they don't see a trade going down for James Harden. But Harden, maybe he's just not all into it, like I said, or maybe the Lakers' game plan in this one was to double team him and stop him. He still got the good 9 assists. He still was 50% from the field. Just his scoring was a little low at 20. PJ Tucker, another stat line for fantasy owners that's not going to do anything. So he should be a guy not owned at all. Last week I told you to drop him, and hopefully people listen. Tucker, 29 minutes, 4 points, 1 rebound, 1 of 4 from the field, but he did add a 3. John Wall, another decent game for Wall, as Wall's still working his way back, I'm sure, to being 100% here for this Rocket team. 34 minutes of play, 14 points, 10 rebounds, 5 dimes for Wall on 5 of 14 shooting, 2 of 4 from 3. So John Wall, he's been pretty solid this season with his new team here in Houston, and he's looked healthy. He's playing from anywhere 35 to 40 minutes. So John Wall, the only thing with him is his injury concerns, and if he could shoot the basketball consistently. And so far this season, he's pretty much lived up to both those things that have troubled him in the past. Eric Gordon, he had a down game in this one, 21 minutes, 4 points, 2 rebounds, and an assist. 1 of 4 from the field, and 0 of 2 from 3 for Eric Gordon. So Gordon, he's a guy that could be droppable this week because he's pretty much a one-trick pony. And when those things aren't going down for him with the scoring and the three-point shooting, Eric Gordon, he's not going to have much fantasy value. So if there's better options on your wire, Gordon, he could be a recommended drop this week. Tate, the rookie, 9 points, 6 boards. He don't have enough value yet. And DeMarcus Cousins, like I mentioned earlier, he got tossed in this game early, but he did finish with 6 points and 4 boards in only 8 minutes of play. But they called the tech on him, hitting LeBron in the face, even though it looked unintentional. But anyway, that's just how the NBA is nowadays, soft. He went for the ball with Cousins, and by accident his hand just hit LeBron in the face. And LeBron put on a good acting job to sell it too when Cousins got tossed. But Cousins, he's working his way back into shape. He's going to get more minutes as the season goes on for this Rocket team because they need a spark right now, I believe, starting the season 3 of 8. And that was the Lakers and Rockets box Antonio Spurs and the Minnesota Timberwolves box war in this one. And the Timberwolves with a nice victory here, 96-88, after the Spurs coming off of 2 victories, beating the Clippers and the Lakers last week. But right here, we'll go to the Spurs side of things. LaMarcus Aldridge, he had another good game here. 20 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, 9 of 21 from the field is troubling. But in this one, he got more shot attempts. because DeMar DeRozan, he didn't play in this ball game with a personal reason. So Aldridge, more of the scoring load was going to be on him in this one. And he delivered a good game for fantasy owners. The only thing with Aldridge, I don't know if he's going to play in back-to-backs really this season or whatever the case may be for him, but it was a good game. It was good to see him out there again, and he even added a 3 once. So Aldridge, he'll be fine. And he was a player that was drafted in later rounds of fantasy drafts, and his value's paying off. Trey Lyles, he got the spot start in this one as they shift the lineup around a little, and he's not going to have fantasy value. In 35 minutes of play, 5 points, 10 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 for 4 from the field. So Lyles, like I said, it was a spot start, and he didn't get the job done. Kelvin Johnson, another struggling game here. 33 minutes of play, 3.7 rebounds, and an assist. 1 of 6 shooting from the field for Johnson. So Johnson, I'm still not going to get rid of him. There's going to be up and downs for this young player. And on this night, it was just a down night for him from the field. And he only had 6 shot attempts, so I think he'll bounce back. He's been a good player so far this season, and obviously Greg Popovich and the Spurs believe in him, that he's been starting this season so far every game. The Jamal Murray mediocre game, 35 minutes, 11 points, 4 boards, 5 assists, 5 of 15 from the field, 1 for 3 from 3. And Murray, his job's definitely safe. He's going to play a tons of minutes, especially with Derrick White once again out 4 to 6 weeks with the toe injury. So pretty much a lost season for White, and this is Murray's time to shine. We know the impact he has. We know the upside. And we've already seen some big games out of him this season. So this one, I don't think it's a big deal. And he'll bounce back. Lonnie Walker, he had a big game in this one. 25 points in 30 minutes of play. 3 rebounds, 4 assists, 9 of 19 from the field, 3 of 7 from 3. So Lonnie Walker, he's going to play a little more as well. When Derrick White came back, we thought Walker's minutes will go down. But obviously White went down after playing only 1 game. And Walker's going to have a role. He's going to start. He's available in a bunch of fantasy leagues. And a guy you should probably go out there and get now that the Derrick White news came down the other day. I know he left the game with cramps, but he should be fine. Patty Mills off the bench. He took 19 shot attempts. That's pretty high for Patty Mills. 18 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists in 29 minutes of play, but 3 for 13 from the field. So Mills, he had a lot of volume in this one as well with DeRozan out, taking the 19 shot attempts. But Mills, he does this a lot, and I say it a lot. He's going to have big games where he scores 25, 30 points, and then he'll struggle a few games, and then he'll show up again. But he's just inconsistent, in my opinion, is Mills, and he's a guy I would just keep on the waiver wire. Rudy Gay, 17 minutes only, 4.7 boards and an assist, 2 of 6 from the field. So Gay, these are the type of numbers he's going to put up. If he's not going to have a good scoring load, he still can rebound, and he can help you in steals as well as Rudy Gay. So I would hold on to him. I think just the way this game was going, he didn't play major minutes. And Polchi, Vassell, and Eubanks, they don't have value. Now to Minnesota side of things, Ed Davis got a start here, and Karl Anthony Towns, he came back on Saturday night, but he's not playing in back-to-backs yet. And Davis, he has no value, 6 points, 6 rebounds, but Towns is back, so no value to start with and none at all. Deangelo Russell, another good game for him in the last week now. He's really come into his own, is Deangelo Russell. 27 points, 5 boards, 5 dimes for D'Lo. 9 of 21 shooting, and he added 4 threes. So D'Lo, this guy could score the basketball from anywhere on the court. And when he gets going, he's tough to stop, and he could rally off a lot of threes in a row and get to the basket at will. So D'Lo, he's starting to pay off for fantasy owners who were frustrated with him in the first few weeks of the season. Jared Culver, another start with no impact here. 2 points, 3 boards, 4 assists, and he shouldn't be owned in any fantasy leagues. Malik Beasley, a good ball game once again. 24 points, 3 boards, 9 of 18 shooting, 3 of 6 from downtown. So Malik Beasley, he's been pretty good, man, for this Minnesota team. Just the only thing with him is his value going to stick right now with Karl Anthony Towns back and his shot attempts going down, because you know Russell's going to get his shot attempts no matter what, and obviously Karl Anthony Towns. But Beasley, his shot attempts per game might take a hit, but I would ride Beasley out until we see what happens when all these guys play. Juan Hernangomez, Another start for him. 7 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 of 5 from the field, and a 3. Hernan Gomez, he had some good value last week, but now the numbers are coming back down for him. So he's a player I wouldn't own on my fantasy team unless in the deepest of leagues. Naz Reid, another guy, he did play 29 minutes off the bench in this one with 11.7 boards and an assist. But Reid, he's the backup center here for Minnesota. Karl Anthony Towns, will probably take him a few games to get his stamina back up to par. But Reid, he's a guy I recommended to drop this week. So if you didn't check that out, go check it out because I don't think he's going to play 29 minutes with Towns there. Ed Davis, he started in this one, but I think Reid, he'll only go 15, 20 minutes a game. But once Towns is 100%, his value is going to be at 0. But I would drop Reid now if there's better options on the wire. Ricky Rubio, another game, and he didn't do much. The 6 assists were good to see from him, but he's not scoring the basketball. He's not giving you any other categories, really, except assists, so he shouldn't be a player right now on fantasy rosters. Agogi, he returned 6 points, 4 boards. He did play 20 minutes, no value. Javed Vanderbilt, 5 points, 8 rebounds in 19 minutes. He's been a decent option the last few games, but I think now with some guys returning here for this Minnesota Timberwolves team, Vanderbilt, he should be put on waiver wires or left there. Anthony Edwards, he only played 17 minutes, and it was a horrible game for him, so hopefully he could bounce back sooner than later. 0 for 8 from the field, 6 rebounds and an assist, so hopefully Edwards, the minutes go up. Hopefully the production goes up. And it was just a bad game in general for both teams. A very low-scoring game at 96-88. So hopefully Edwards bounces back. And that was the Spurs and Minnesota Timberwolves Warriors and the Toronto Raptors. And the Warriors, another victory here. A lot of people were counting the Warriors out and saying they're one of the worst teams they're going to be in the West. But now they improved to 6-4 here with a 106-105 victory. Now we'll start off with Toronto. And Pascal Siakam, another good game here for him. 25-11, 9-19 from the field, and 2 for 4 from 3. So Siakam, he's probably the best player now on this Toronto Raptor team. And after that game walking off the court early, he's come back and he's played really well right now. So Siakam, he went second or third round of most fantasy drafts, and he's living up to that draft value, and he's putting up the numbers. So Siakam, he was a player I was big on this season, and so far he's put up great stats. Norman Powell, he was a recommended ad this week, but in this game he didn't do much. Only 22 minutes of work, 9 points, 3 rebounds, 3 of 8 from the field. Then he added a 3. Powell, though, he's been pretty decent the last couple games, so I think this was just a down game for him. And I think he'll bounce back, and he's a player I said to pick up this week on waivers. OG Anunoby, 10.6 rebounds, 4 of 12 from the field, 2 for 6 from 3. So OG, he's playing major minutes with another big one in this one, 37 minutes. So he's getting the playing time. The Raptors are obviously high on him by giving him the playing time and a contract extension and letting a few guys walk in free agency. So he's going to get the opportunities, but he's going to be a player that I think is going to be inconsistent most of the season. Kyle Lowry, he's been solid once again this year. When you think Lowry's done, he continues to keep getting the job done. 17 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists on 5 of 14 shooting, 3 for 8 from the field. So Lowry, he's been a good story the last few seasons for this Toronto team, and he continues to be a leader and a player with good fantasy value at this time here for Toronto. So Lowry, he's playing major minutes. He's getting the job done here, and fantasy owners, they should be confident with Lowry on their team that he could help them. Fred VanVleet, he's been another good player this season. 21 points once again in this one. 5 rebounds, 5 assists. 9 of 20 from the field, 3 for 10 from 3. So VanVleet got the big contract here from Toronto in the offseason, and he's producing, and he's got the green light to take as many shots as he wants. Once again, leading the Raptors in shot attempts in this game with 20. But I think the pecking order in this offense goes Siakam, VanVleet, and then Kyle Lowry. But all 3 of these guys, they're getting good usage. They're producing, but this Raptor team, for whatever reason, they can't make stops anymore on defense. And they're 2-7 on the season. Chris Booker, a lot of people high on him, and another good game for Booker. 15.6 boards, 6 of 10 from the field, and 2 for 3 from 3. So Booker, he was a sleeper in a lot of fantasy drafts coming into the season, and he's produced good numbers. And he needs an injury, though, for his value to really skyrocket and him put up big numbers. But right now, Booker, he's been a good ball player for this Raptor team, and fantasy owners, he should be owned in a majority of leagues. Terrence Davis, Flynn, and Johnson, they have no value at this time. And Aaron Baines, he didn't play because of coach's decision. So Toronto, it looks like they're shaking things up here now, and they're going in a different direction. Now to the Warriors side of things, James Wiseman, he only played 16 minutes, but he had 10 points, 7 rebounds, 5 of 7 from the field, and 0 for 1 from 3. So Wiseman, big touted rookie this year, second pick overall he was in the NBA draft, and he's a player I like a lot. I actually got Wiseman in 3 of my fantasy leagues, and he's going to have good nights, and then he's going to have mediocre nights like this. But as the season goes on, and as he learns the NBA game, I think Wiseman, he's going to be better, and he's going to be a big factor for fantasy owners. Steph Curry, the worst game of his career from shooting the basketball, 2 of 16 from the field, and 1 of 10 from 3. So Steph, it was just an off night for him. It happens. When you're a great shooter, some nights the ball just doesn't drop, and that's what it is with shooters. But shooter mentality is you keep shooting the ball, and he still added some good other stats, 100% from the line, and 9 rebounds and 6 assists, and his team got the win. So Curry, I'm not worried about him. He's had a great season so far this year, and it was one hiccup in the road for him here. Draymond Green, he finally showed up with a fantasy-relevant ball game in this one. 1 rebound shy of a triple-double, 10 points, 9 rebounds, 10 assists, and he even added 2 threes was Green. But Green, though, he's not great at one thing in fantasy, but this was a throwback type of line here for Draymond. And hey, hopefully he gets it going now, and he has good fantasy value, and he helps this Warrior team contribute and be good this season. But right now, Draymond Green, I'm not going to expect much from him, but I'm not also going to drop him yet if I'm a Green owner, unless he struggles now the next few weeks. Kelly Oubre, mediocre game, and this season it's just been a whole season of a shooting slump for Oubre. 12.6 rebounds, 3 assists, 5 of 14 from the field for Oubre, and 1 of 6 from 3. So Oubre, he's got to get it going though, but I think he will. Right now, he's with a new team. We're only 10 games in, and Oubre, he's the type of player who could go on crazy streaks and get things going. So if for some reason he was dropped in your league, I would go out there and get Oubre, because I think better games are ahead for him. Andrew Wiggins, mediocre game in this one. He almost didn't play. He was questionable coming in. 17 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists, 7 of 17 from the field, and 3 of 10 from 3. So Wiggins, this season, I've noticed he's added more assists to his game, and his 3-point shooting, he's trying to improve, even though he shot 30% from the field at 3 in this one. But I think Wiggins, he'll be a decent player. You know, he could score the basketball. And like I said, he's adding other categories to his game this year. Kent Bazemore, he got a decent game, 9 points, 5 boards, 3 assists, but he's not on radars at this time. Eric Pascal, he definitely is, though. He's a player I recommended to add this week at the forward position off waivers. 15 points, 2 rebounds, and an assist, 5 of 10 shooting, and 1 for 2 from 3. Pascal, we saw him last season in a bigger role with all the injuries this Golden State Warrior team have. Put up solid fantasy numbers and be a contributor to the Warriors and fantasy teams. And now that Marquise Chris is out for the season, he's been playing the backup center and forward positions, and he's really delivered. So if he's out there in your fantasy leagues, you should go out there and get him, because he could contribute and help your team. Damian Lee, 13 points, 2 boards. I got to see more out of him, and there needs to be some injuries for him to have value. And Looney, Wanamaker, and Mulder, minor minutes in this one. They don't have value. So that was the January 10th recap of the Fantasy Basketball Day, and of obviously the Toronto Raptors and the Golden State Warriors.